Good evening, everyone. My name is Dennis Parker. I want to welcome everybody tonight to the Friends of Prevention's Coalition Symposium on Mental Health and Well-Being in the Black community. We're going to begin promptly at 7 p.m. Thank you and look forward to talking with you. Again, welcome everyone. We want to tell you you're at the right place and the right time. You're at the Friends of Prevention's Coalition's Mental Health Symposium. We're going to begin promptly at about 7 p.m. Thank you, and we look forward to talking with you soon. And one more time, we want to let everybody know you're in the right place at the right time. The Friends of Prevention's Coalition September Symposium on Mental Health within the Black community. We've got a number of distinguished panelists, and I'm looking forward to beginning with them in approximately 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you for your patience. Welcome, everyone. I want to welcome you to the Friends of Prevention's Coalition meeting on mental health within the Black community. My name is Dennis Parker, and I expect to be beginning in the next minute or so. You are in the right place. You are in the right place. Thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm looking forward to a wonderful evening where we can share information, become empowered, learn something more about ourselves and how we can be more effective in helping people in the community. I want to welcome everyone to the Friends of Prevention's Coalition's Community Conversation. My name is Dennis Parker. I'll be the moderator tonight for this event. I would like to thank the Friends of Prevention Coalition of the Richmond Behavioral Health Authority for sponsoring this very important discussion. FOPC is a catalyst for promoting wellness in Richmond to create and sustain healthy and drug-free communities. FOPC's community conversations are all about how we can make Richmond a safer place for all citizens and a healthier place for all of us to thrive. September is the month that we recognize mental health awareness, suicide prevention, and substance abuse recovery. Today, we will be talking with several panelists to discuss the rise of mental health challenges within the community, including substance misuse and suicide, and the connection to the dual pandemics of COVID-19 and systemic racism. Joining me this evening are Ms. Deidre Pearson, the Director of the Women's Substance Use Disorder and Co-occurring Services at the Richmond Behavioral Health Authority. Welcome. Mr. Victor McKenzie, Executive Director of the Substance Abuse and Addiction Recovery Alliance, also known as SARA, and Reverend Gail Hobson, a registered peer recovery specialist at Richmond Behavioral Health Authority. Welcome, everyone. I want to tell everybody thank you for coming and participating. We welcome all of our panelists, and I would like each of our panelists to take a few minutes, maybe 2 or 3, and talk a little bit about their experience and work in mental health, substance misuse, and recovery services. Everybody take 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll begin with Ms. Pearson and Mr. McKenzie, and then Reverend Hobson.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to be here tonight. I am Deidre Pearson, and I have actually worked in the area of behavioral health for over 25 years now, specifically in the area of gender-specific treatment services for women for over 20 years now. I'm a licensed clinical social worker with a certification in substance abuse counseling, and it's my pleasure to be here tonight. I will also share that I have oversight for women's services and co-occurring services in the Substance Use Disorder Division at the Richmond Behavioral Health Authority. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. McKenzie?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Victor McKenzie, and I'm the Executive Director of SARA Virginia. We're a statewide advocacy organization for individuals and families affected by substance use. The way we break down our organization is we have 2 sides of our house. We do our work through advocacy. We have affiliates throughout the state of Virginia in the 5 different DBHDS regions, as well as we do recovery support here in Richmond in partnership with RBHA.
Thank you. Welcome. And Reverend Hobson? No, you still muted, Reverend Hobson.
Unmute.
Good.
Are you able to hear me now?
We got you.
Good
now.
afternoon,
yes,
everyone. My name is Gail Hobson. I am a peer recovery specialist with North Campus RBHA, working with the women there. It has been my life work to see people come out of a struggle and learn how to live life on life's terms and know that they're worth something. So for the last 29 years, I have been in recovery. I started recovery 29 years ago. So just been in the field in a variety of different ways. I have my own 501c3, so I put my hands in a lot of different pots to do the same work. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for being here, everyone. So we're going to jump right in. Again, thanks for joining us today. Recently, the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services within the federal government, SAMHSA, as we know it, released a paper entitled Double Jeopardy: COVID-19 and Behavioral Health Disparities for Black and Latino Communities in the U.S. In short, the report says that COVID-19 has revealed deep-seated inequities in healthcare for communities of color. For many of us, it wasn't an aha moment, but it was good to get SAMHSA to finally recognize and participate. But in each of your respective areas, are you seeing an increase in mental health issues because of COVID-19 and systemic racism? And that we'll begin with you, Ms. Pearson, and work our way around. You're muted. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right.
So I would say that's a real interesting question because I think I'm of the thought that I hear so many people talk about this pandemic within a pandemic, and I think it's really affected us in a lot of different ways. We definitely have seen an increase in individuals who are suffering from anxiety, increased psychosis, depression, and it's been very challenging working with the individuals that we've been dealing with. I would say there are times when we have individuals come into services and they have been stabilized prior to coming in, especially those who have some type of major psychosis. But I would say during this pandemic and during this time that we're in right now, we've seen individuals come into treatment who are still suffering with auditory and visual hallucinations, and
Mhm.
has become their baseline
Mm.
during this time because of the increased levels of stress, the increased levels of anxiety, and of course the depression that some people are experiencing. Folks are feeling hopeless and lost. And of course, that leads to suicidal ideations and attempts. So it's interesting to watch the trends right now.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for that. I think it's an interesting point. You talk about psychosis and hallucinations, and people just walking in. It is very. It's some sad things that we're uncovering right now. Mr. McKenzie, do you have anything to add?
Sure. Kind of piggyback, and I think we're seeing with that isolation, it's especially challenging for an already vulnerable population. I was speaking to a peer a few weeks ago, and they put it bluntly, you're already dealing with the disease of addiction, and then you add on the coronavirus, you add on the quarantine, being, the kids are at home, you can't find the toilet paper, as one of them say. All of these compounding things just start to pile up, and all of a sudden it's triggering, and that can kind of lead you to destructive behavior.
Mm.
And so we've seen with our services an increase of almost 40% of how many people who just want to be involved with our peer groups, just logging on, reaching out for services.
Wow, 40%. Man, it's incredible that you're able to serve that capacity, and it's saddening that we have to, but glad that you're there. Reverend Hobson, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I would definitely agree with Ms. Pearson. As I work at the women's facility for RBHA, I see a lot of that same stuff that she's talking about in our participants that come through the doors. It is saddening. I'm just grateful when they come that we're there to help them. I do see it also in my own circle. I hear it a lot in my friend circle. I hear a lot of issues that are happening that people are being honest about, things that they're dealing with. So yes, it is definitely on the rise.
I think that's a very good point you made with regards to, people, they say, I think I saw a statistic somewhere ago that 1 in 25% of people have a severe mental health issue. Then you have another 15 to 20% that might be on the bubble of depression. But when you put people in situations like this where they can't get out, they're not going about their life and their regular routine, it might push that 15 to 25% over the top. Additionally, I saw a CNN report that said over 40 million people are expected to lose their housing because of the pandemic, meaning because they weren't able to go to work, and you got the little bit of money that was put in place to help the transition, but that wasn't enough, and people are going to at some point lose their housing, which I would suspect, any of you can speak to this, I would suspect, when you don't have, and again, I'm not a social worker, but I played one on TV, and they talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you don't have that basic need of shelter, I suspect that it'll push you to your breaking point. Ms. Pearson, would you agree with that? Can't hear you. Can't hear you. I got you now. All right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
All
I'm
right.
gonna get this thing after a while.
That's okay.
So absolutely, I would agree with that. That is definitely a challenge that we've seen in the individuals that we work with. I mean, the stress of, I mean, when you think about it, the individuals that we work with are particularly the ones who probably lost their jobs first,
Mm,
because most of them have jobs on are working hourly jobs, and
right.
most of them are
Right.
have lost their jobs first, so they've
Right.
lost their income, they've
Right.
lost their livelihood, and so they're struggling trying to make it happen.
Wow.
So that definitely, just in itself, it increases the stress level of
Yeah.
individuals.
Yeah. Does anybody else want to weigh in on that before I move to the next one? Go ahead, Mr. McKenzie.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a social worker. I didn't play one on TV either, but I've been doing community work for a long time. And, I call it the 3 a.m. questions. If you're worried about where you're going to sleep tonight, where you're going to
Mm,
get the next plate of food, you cannot
mm,
possibly start, really focus on your recovery. All of a
right.
sudden, it starts to slip while you're focusing on this. And you see it compounding. I think Deirdre mentioned, you just see it starting to rise. And if you don't have a safe place to live, you you really can't focus on anything else.
Got you. Got you. Gail, what about you?
Yes, I hear those conversations all the time working with the women. That is a priority for them. It's one of their number one concerns. Where are they going to go to live? I'm grateful for the halfway houses that are around the city that people are able to transition into, but they're not able to work now, so they're unable to pay for those. I'm
Wow.
also grateful that we at RBHA have started placing women in housing directly out of treatment. So that's a good thing. So it
That
gives,
is.
especially the pregnant women, the mothers with
Oh
children.
my. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
able to sometimes transition into housing. So that takes a load off of them. It's hectic.
It
It
is.
drives them back out to addiction when they can't answer those questions. And that's the last
That's
place we want to see them go.
That's good. That's great work everybody's doing out there. Going to transition to the next question. In January 2020, the American Psychological Association said that between 1991 and 2017, suicide attempts among Black adolescents increased by 73%. In July, an article in the Denver Post had a headline that read, "Pandemic, Racism Compounds Worries About Black Suicide Rate." In an article, it said that during the pandemic, doctors and researchers say that mental health crisis reverberates deeper among Black people. So I'm going to ask this question that I just read with regards to the impact of the pandemic on people of color and mental health issues. I'm going to ask that in reverse order and begin with Gail, work my way to Victor, and then end up with Deidre.
I'm glad you asked. Vocal just hired me and 3 other peers to do a
And what is Vocal? What is Vocal?
I'm not sure of the it's a peer organization.
Okay.
It's like Sarah.
Okay.
But they hired 4 Black peers to do a 8-week course called RAP.
Okay.
For the Black community, specifically for these very reasons right here: systemic racism and COVID-19. They wanted us to be able to have a safe place to have those conversations.
Okay.
And so it was really, really helpful, and I'm real grateful that they did that. And I hope that someone continues to do that, because
what kind of things were raised, Gail, if you won't mind me asking, when you had the conversation?
Well, I don't think we got a lot of the race issues that came up. I think maybe some slight interactions. They may have had a few slight interactions.
Okay.
That they wanted to discuss, and we took 15 minutes out of every hour at the end to allow them to share what they may need to be shared, get off of their chest before they left the group.
Okay.
So it was just very, very enlightening and very helpful and very relieving for a lot of the participants.
Great. That's good. Whenever you can get out in the community and actually, put some practice to some of that theory, it helps to actually move something. Victor?
But if I could have one more second.
Okay, I'm sorry, please.
Actually, I actually wrote down some things I wanted to say in response to that question.
Please.
And that was to bring more awareness of the resources available to address specific issues. I think that's one way we can help in our communities, is to make sure that they know that the resources are available. Because I think a lot of times people are just unaware that the resources are out there. And I strongly, strongly encourage WRAP, the Wellness Recovery Action Plan, which is something that we do at North Campus with every woman that comes through our door. Everybody that comes through the door goes through that process of learning what their wellness tools are, what their triggers are, what their breaking points are. So they're able to stay out of crisis and not get back to crisis. And every one of them love that program. So I'm real grateful that Ms. Berry allows us to be able to do that for each person that comes through our door.
Good, good. Anything else you want to add before I go?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Victor?
Sure. I think I just want to kind of add on to what Gail said. I think awareness is one of the big pieces. And also, you know, being a younger Black male growing up, the stigma. How do we break down the stigma of mental health and substance use disorder? I think breaking down that and then providing the resources is really where we need to go. I remember growing up, having those conversations. Mental health, you didn't talk about that. Go see it. You didn't talk about that. You know, substance use disorder, you didn't talk about that. But not talking about those things has led to people keeping it in.
Right.
And so what we need to do is we need to have those conversations.
No question.
Generations, younger generations, we need to have those conversations up front. And then, as Gail alluded to, then lead, you know, provide the resources, meet people where they are.
Good. That I would agree with you wholeheartedly. You know, as a young Black man myself, I'm just 21. I highlighted my beard to make it look great, but I'm really 21. But as a young Black man, we didn't talk about that either, man. It was like, you know, when as I work my way through my profession now, I engage in schools and I see, you know, different kids getting supportive resources in the school, whether it's IEPs or things like that. A lot of kids that I know that ended up in prison, or a lot of guys my age that ended up in prison, could have benefited from that level of support, right? But we didn't have it. Additionally, when we saw depression back when we were young, it was like, you ain't depressed, you need a job. You know what I mean? It's just, you're not depressed. You know, what do you have to be depressed about? The good Lord woke you. And I mean, I'm not taking nothing from the good Lord. No, I'm not. But at the same time, I'm saying we have to be honest with ourselves. If we're doing some things that aren't necessarily on the continuum of healthiness, we need to be honest, and we need to point people in the direction that they need to go to get the support that they need to become whole, healthy, vibrant individuals. Deidre, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where the stigma comes in. And I certainly agree with what everybody has said. You know, I think that we've been socialized certain ways, and we've got to dispel some of those myths among our people, among people of color, among young people. We've got to let folks know. I know we were socialized that, you know, you don't go crazy, girl, you don't go crazy. We don't go crazy. You know, that if you see someone for some help, that you're considered crazy,
right?
Unquote. Or we've never talked about your Uncle Nook, who had a still way back up in the woods.
That's right.
Who was selling, you know, selling alcohol out of the back kitchen. So we didn't talk about those things, but I certainly agree with what Victor has said. We've got to make people aware. We got to keep it real, especially with our young people. You know, for them, you have to be really genuine. And I think that that's a definite place to start. You know, just keep it, be genuine with them. Teach them about the myths that we're dealing with. Dispel some of those myths and let them know that it's okay. It's okay to deal with the stress of the day. It's okay to talk about what's going on in your house so that you can make it the next day. That's
right. That's good, Deidre. That's exactly right. I would tell you, the reality is that I was talking to a friend of mine, and you know, we were having a conversation a few years back, maybe about 5 to 10 years ago, and you know, he was a therapist. He wasn't providing me therapy at the time. Well, he actually was, but it wasn't structured therapy. But we were having a conversation, and one of it we talked about. It triggered some emotion, and and I was like, man, you're gonna make me cry, man. Don't make me cry. He said, I said, man, if you make me cry, then we're gonna have to fight. He's like, no, man, them tears, they serve a purpose. And that was the profound thing to say to, you know, to a guy, to a black man who, you know, feels like he needs to be strong. And the picture of strength is to hold everything on the inside, manage it to the best of your ability, and take high blood pressure medicine so that we, you know, so that we don't have a stroke. But the reality is that we need to find positive, healthy ways to be able to get these things off our chest and communicate in a way that's healthy and wholesome so we can be our best version of ourselves. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add before we go to the next question? Go,
Yeah,
Gail.
I think we're seeing.
Victor, hang on one second, Victor. Gail's trying to punch in to say something. Go ahead, Gail. You're muted.
Yes, I would like to say that I see it in my immediate circle. I'm beginning to see some of the mental health issues, and
Yes.
and those people are identifying with them on their own. But I also had a really, really close friend of mine try and commit suicide a few years ago.
Wow.
And so that was a real eye opener for me, because I would have never thought, you know, I probably had some of that mindset that we have in our community until that event happened. And when it happened, I just thought I need to learn everything I can possibly learn, because I was so clueless to the fact that this was a possibility.
Absolutely.
So it does happen. And I think that we're making some headway with what we're doing already. And we just need to continue to do more of the same.
Good comment, Gail. Go ahead, Victor.
Sorry. Yeah, I was going to say, I think we're seeing a shift with more people talking about mental health. I think with just everything going on of late with the quarantine, coronavirus, the things we're seeing around the nation when it comes to racial relations, people are more open about talking how it affects them. And to be frank, all it takes is one. As Gail kind of mentioned, just within your circle, I had a good buddy of mine a few years ago who, another young Black male who was just like, hey man, you know, I started going to therapy and this thing helped. And, you know, we had similar life situations growing up. And I thought, well, hey, if it's helping him, maybe, you know, I need to take a look at it. And all of a sudden, you know, a few years later, you know, in all of my friend groups, we're always kind of checking in on, you know, how's your mental health doing? You know, how's this going? How's that going? All right. But that we've kind of made that a part of our regular check-in. And I think even some, you know, social media has it's like a double-edged sword. You know, it can weigh on your mental health, but also it exposes you to a lot more people, you know, different perspectives, and a lot more openness when it comes to discussions about substance use disorder, about mental health, about racial relations. It's an open forum.
Right. And I'm gonna tell you, man, I made a joke about the age difference. I'm not quite as young as you, but I will tell you, our generation, we did practice holding stuff in. You know, my generation came right after the 60s, right? So it was about economic empowerment at all costs, right? So to hell with your feelings, work through it, get that check, make your life better for your family, right? Your generation, which I applaud, man, you guys are, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement, you know, you guys are attacking the social fabric of America and challenging itself, almost like Dr. King did. Dr. King was so brilliant in his example of how to challenge. He made America hold the mirror up to himself and say, if you believe that these are the values that you represent, then you're not holding up to them. And that's what the Black Lives Matter movement is doing. And I applaud your generation. Deidre, do you have anything you want to add before I move to the next question?
Well, I was just thinking about kind of what Victor was saying about, you know, I call it the advocacy pieces that have come along with the pandemic. And we're talking about social justice and racial injustice. And I was just thinking my daily hope is that we continue to advocate in both areas, that this time of advocacy would permeate every area, you know, not just the area of social justice, but also the area of mental health and the area of substance use disorders and all of the areas that we're dealing with. I certainly agree with you. I was thinking about what you said, Dennis, how as I'm not a man, but as men, you're taught, get a job, you'll be all right. You know, that your treatment is in working. And I think about treatment even some years back, not too long ago, treatment, it has been all about men, for men, becoming productive. And that's very important for a man.
That's right.
I understand that.
That's right.
But the pieces of dealing with how you feel have been left out. Just like you said, you know, men don't cry, you know, wipe your face, you know, keep yourself together, you're looking weak.
Right.
And those areas and those things, we have to deal with those things in our communities, because just like you said, someone taught you that tears serve a purpose.
That's
they're
right.
cleansing, they're refreshing, they're
Yeah,
renewing.
right.
We have to allow people to express themselves and help them understand that as you allow some of this to come out of you, then you can allow the healing to take place.
Absolutely. It's a release valve. It's an absolute release valve.
Yes.
So the next question, Richmond, unlike other localities throughout Virginia, is also seeing a huge increase in opioid use and deaths. Victor, are you experiencing an increase in requests for services? Is your agency able to keep up with demands? Before I ask you that question, and I'll repeat it, I would like to take this one moment to thank the FOPC for sponsoring this tonight's event, along with Richmond Behavioral Health Authority. Without these needed conversations, our people would perish because we wouldn't have the knowledge to make ourselves better. And I hope that this conversation that's being catalyzed or crystallized and begun with FOPC of Richmond and Richmond Behavioral Health will be something that people can latch on to, check back with, and seek out resources to help change their lives. But Victor, have you been able to keep up with the demands?
Sure. Like I said at the top, we've seen about a 40% increase in a demand for our services. That's participation in our peer groups. We've actually partnered with RBHA, Mental Health America Virginia, to operate a regional warm line, a recovery warm line, where folks in recovery, or if you know, even if you're not in recovery yet, you are even thinking about it, you can call into this warm line and request services, anything from housing to financial assistance, whatever you need in order to get you to that next step. You can call into this line, or just someone to talk to. We've seen an uptick in the amount of phone calls we get into that line. We've seen an uptick in the amount of participants in our weekly peer groups. And because we're all virtual right now, we're able to actually keep up with that demand. We're able to meet people where they are, right in their living rooms, right on their phone, if they're calling in, which is a great plus. But on the flip side, there's folks who technology is an inherent barrier. They might not have the technology. They might not have that safe, quiet space to talk on the phone. So we're trying to develop partnerships to better handle that section. But overall, we've been able to keep up with the demand and just make our services as available as possible. We've invested in our digital infrastructure so that we're able to host that amount of people. So we're trying.
Good. I think you raised a good point, and I'm gonna ask Deidre the same question, but I am gonna put a little bit of spin on it. Have you seen a rise in issues with regards to, because he made the point about technology and us having virtual therapy sessions, but it's not necessarily good for me to have a therapy session if my mate is creating havoc at home. So have you seen a rise in that, and how are you overcoming that challenge?
So, yes. First of all, yes, we definitely have seen a rise in our referrals, but we definitely have seen some challenges in relation to, and of course, women's services is my thing. So we definitely have seen a a rise in some intimate partner violence during this period of time. You know, everybody's in the house together. We don't have anywhere to go. I mean, when you think about the months of March and April and May, people were just stuck in the house together. And so we definitely saw individuals who we work with who were struggling and who were reaching out to us for help just because of the challenges that they were facing with their partners in the home.
Right, right.
So that's definitely, I would agree with him when he talked about the fact that there's been a rise in referrals, but we definitely have been able to meet the demand because we've been virtual. It's been challenging. I mean, opioid deaths are off the charts, especially in our communities. And so people are reaching out for help. But at the same time, it's hard sometimes to have that safe space, as Victor has talked about, in order to be able to be on the phone with my therapist when I have to set up, you know, the desk for my child for school, and I got to get dinner on the table, and I'm trying to stop the baby from crying and make the bottles, and
And I'm trying to work virtually. Right. That's
you know,
right. Yeah,
all of that, you know,
that's
and when
right.
it comes
That's
to
right.
women, that's what we see, you know. We see women trying to make it happen in the midst of everything that's going on.
Wow. That's that's awesome. I mean, it's awesome. It's an awesome task. Um, just being you guys and being out here on the front lines with you guys trying to help and serve and meet the needs. I'll just be candid. Like, prior to the pandemic, you would get up at 7:30, leave the house, right? Go out. Your mate would go one way, you would go the other. For most of America, meet up back at 7, have dinner, 2 hours of conversation, and you go to bed and do it all over again. With the pandemic, with everybody being in the house, some people might not like people that they thought they liked because you didn't know that much about them. So it's you learn a lot. You learn a lot about yourself and about other people. Gail, go ahead. I'm gonna get to you. Go ahead, Gail. What do you want to say?
No, I was just thinking what I had to do to prepare for this. My grandchildren are downstairs. I was waiting for their dad to get here to make sure I could get on the call on time. But I have really, really enjoyed spending time with my family, my children, with everybody being mobile, being home now and not going. My daughter's working from home, so I spend a lot of time at her house. And it's just been a beautiful thing for us to come back together real close and like a family. So I've appreciated that. So there's, there's some assets and some liabilities to the season that we're in.
That's right. Because I'm gonna tell you, when my baby, I had to go pick my baby up in March from UVA, and I was happy. You understand me? I was happy. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry that you have to come home on the outside, but on the inside, daddy's baby is home. We're gonna eat out on the grill. I'm gonna get, you know what I mean? So I think you're right. I think you're right. And I think we have to grab to those things that do make us happy in the midst of chaos. And I'll tell you, just candidly with just us on the phone, that, us as Black folk, we've always had to take lemons and make lemonade, and take something sour and turn it into sweet. So we have a lot of resiliency within our community, but at the same time, we don't want to ignore the fact that those challenges do come with costs, right? Our ability to hold stuff in, push through, fight through to the next level, it comes at a cost. And, sometimes that comes in health disparities. I was on a radio show with a young man, and he happened to be white, and he asked me, he said, did I think that being a Black man created to my health disparities in America? And so I respectfully, I inhaled, and I said, I think there's some things that we have done, based on education and culture and history. Sometimes we don't eat the best, we eat chitlins and things of that nature. I said, but to be candid with you, I do think that there's a tremendous amount of pressure that comes on me as a Black man when I'm pulled over with my 10-year-old son, and I'm telling him at 10 years old, yo, don't move quickly. Don't cry. I know you're nervous, but we don't want this man to think anything is wrong because I don't know what his trigger is. So right then, right there at that moment, even though I'm his father and I'm preparing him for the world, I've just created a traumatic event that's going to cause PTSD in some form or another. It might be manageable, but will be what he'll have to deal with it. So I do think, we go around Robin Hood's barn, but we are in the midst of a global, well, actually it's a global pandemic, but for us in America is duality. Let's see, the next question is, I'm gonna put my glasses up. What is the role of the community and family to help mitigate the issues that we're talking about today? And I'm gonna just open that up to anybody who wants to talk to it. Don't all be so quiet now. Y'all chomping at the bit when I pick you out one by one.
I'll
Well-
start. I want to say the role of, and I wrote on this one as well, the role of the community is to open up the conversations. We want to open up and have those conversations about the struggles that we've been talking about that are real, and be willing to get involved. I want to say, when you see something, say something. I love the fact that somebody said that one day, to encourage family members to be safe, like you did your son in the car. There are very real things that we can do that we need to do. We don't need to think twice about whether or not we need to do them. We just need to do them because, like you said, historically, we have always prepared ourselves for things that we've had to deal with. And we've weathered every storm because we're
That's right.
resilient. Like you said, we're very resilient.
That's
But
right.
we have to be honest with ourselves and have those honest conversations.
That's wonderful, Gail. You're absolutely right. Who's next?
I'll just jump in and say, we have this awesome village, and no matter what, we come together, and so we have to utilize that. We have to utilize the support that we do have in spite of the challenges that we're facing. We have to utilize that support that we have. And I would just say that we have to educate our family members and, bring them from behind the tent door and help to empower them and help to support one another and just continue to unify.
Good, Deirdre, good. Go ahead, Victor.
I'm just gonna highlight what both Deirdre and Gail said. I think, pushing forward on community initiatives, that community fabric is incredibly important. You're more likely to just kind of go with an initiative if it's brought on by people you know. So if we go into the community and we launch a mental health awareness initiative, and it's led by community members, longstanding community members, people are more likely to go with it, to have those conversations, to open up. I do think most of these conversations start at the community level. It has to be organic and bubble up. But when you look around, those are the people that are with you. And you have to be open to those conversations and open for that change. Yeah.
Good, good, good. I'd like to take one moment right now. I'm getting some prompts to just also to thank the friends of the, hold on a second, I want to say it correctly. Friends of Prevention Coalition and the Richmond Behavioral Health Authority for sponsoring tonight's event on mental health awareness, and how it correlates with the Black community and some of the issues that we're dealing with, both positive and negative post the pandemic, the dual pandemic, if you will. One that has just been kicked off in March, the other that has been woven into the fabric of America since the dawn of its new country. I'm being asked to provide the information on the RBHA warm line. That number is 1-833-473-3782. I'm sorry, that's Sarah. Is that right, Victor?
It's a partnership. It's a live RVA. It's all good.
Okay. Listen, y'all can't keep. I'm not a paid professional. Y'all can't keep sending this stuff to me like this. I'm doing the best I can. So I got Victor here with 1-833-473-3782. And I've also got to make mention of RBHA, www.rbha.org, FOPC-FOCPRVA.com. BJ, I hope that made you happy. The next question.
Before we move on, Dennis, can I say one
Please,
I
please.
think in that community space, it's not just you and me. We have to hold those institutions that hold space in the community accountable as well. Not just our religious institutions. We're talking about our financial institutions, our community organizations, our schools. Those are all part of that community fabric, and they all should be a part of moving our community forward.
Yeah.
That's my soapbox.
So yeah, no, that's good. I'm getting threats on the. I don't think that's a part of mental health awareness right there. I don't think that's a part of mental health awareness. Listen, so I think you're absolutely right, and that's the role that just quickly, if we can talk a little bit about some of the things that I've done professionally, is holding institutions in the community and within government accountable for their behaviors. For years, we have had opportunities where latent or blatant racism takes place, but it's the latent what that kills you. It's the silence. It's the sitting there and watching somebody create or construct a public policy that doesn't speak specifically to the issues that are at hand. And so, yes, you are absolutely right. Accountability is the most important tool that we have for our generation and the people that are out here fighting on the lines. I've been told that we have 15 minutes left and we're having a great time. I didn't know it was moving this fast, but I'm having a great time. So accountability is great. The next question is specifically to Deidre. As the director of the Women's Substance Abuse or Substance Use, and let me just ask this first of all. I've been told substance abuse. Is that not the right term of the day first? Is that faux pas now?
The term of the day is substance use disorder.
Substance use disorder.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to throw that out because I see Victor nodding his head as well. So I apologize for my ignorance at that moment. But Deidre, as the director of the Women's Substance Use Disorder and Co-occurring Services at RBHA, women, especially women of color, are experiencing major challenges. Please speak to us about what they are and are there sufficient resources and what specifically is RBHA doing?
Okay, certainly. I'm always happy to talk about what we're doing at RBHA, but I would say that the challenges for women and women of color are pretty much the same as everyone else. Loss of jobs, loss of income, loss of socialization during this pandemic. I mean, you're asking, women who are nurturers and birthers and who are carriers to kind of try to maneuver through this system that they've been devalued by for a long time. Women of color, are like they're the stability in most of their households. So when I think about some of the challenges, I'm thinking about women who have started to bring home the bacon and fry it up in a pan, but there's no bacon and there's no pan now. So because some of their jobs are the first shutting down. So those have been some of the challenges. And then your job, of course, as we said earlier, has turned into caregiver. Your job has turned into teacher. Your job has turned into doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. And so it's very challenging for our women and very stressful for them. So our ladies are trying to handle a lot of things. They're trying to balance a lot of things. How do I take care of getting on a Zoom call with my provider? How do I, get my medication while I'm trying to feed my family? I don't have anybody to watch my kids. Like I said earlier, I got one desk in the closet and the other child is in the kitchen at the table trying to do their work. So there are lots and lots of challenges that they're faced with. But I'm so excited about what we're doing here at the Authority with women. We actually start with women all the way from the screening process all the way through and provide every type of service imaginable for them. We try to decrease the barriers for women. We have women who are worried about childcare, and we try to provide child minding services for them, transportation. We traditionally have provided those services, which now they are looking quite different in this pandemic, but we're providing those services for them. We're providing peer support services. They can call up anytime and reach out and speak with someone. Residential treatment services, which I'm so excited about. And Gail has talked some about the services that we provide here on the North Campus. We have beautifully renovated new women's residential treatment facility here, and we're offering services to women, trauma-informed services. We also have I'm so excited to share a very newly renovated Children's Services Center right here on campus. We haven't even moved into it yet. So it's hot off the presses, where we're going to be offering services to the women and their children that are here on campus, as well as children in the community, because our early intervention services are going to be housed in that same building as well. So we are offering them all kinds of services: individual counseling, group therapy. Gail mentioned the housing services that we have. We've been fortunate enough to partner with the federal government and provide housing for some of our women right out of treatment. Some of them are getting houses, some of them are moving into apartments. So we're really trying to provide that wraparound support for them as they try to maneuver through this pandemic and through this thing we call treatment. And so I'm really excited. There's so much going on. Could take the rest of the hour and tell it, but I know someone else wants to talk. But I'm just really excited to be able to share those things.
Good. That sounds like a lot of good things you guys got going on. We all know that necessity is the mother of invention, and when times get hard, we're gonna make things work. That is one of the things that we do share as a common value as Americans. Victor, do you guys provide any targeted services to women in recovery?
Yeah, we provide an all women's recovery group, which really highlights the issues that are relevant to women and their experiences. And obviously, we know that's unique. Dennis, you and I, or no man knows what that experience is. So those are led by women, and it's a safe space to talk about those unique experiences.
Good. Gail, do you have anything you want to add on that one?
I want to add something that I think I neglected to say earlier that I think is very important. I've actually been at the North Campus area for 6 years working with women before RBHA took over. And I'm beginning to see now, for the last 2 years, I want to say, I'm beginning to see women who are really hungry for recovery. I'm beginning to see a larger base of women who really, really, really want to get clean. And so I was thinking earlier, I think it has a lot to do with the groups and services that we're offering, but it may have something to do with the pandemic and everything that's happening in society as well. But women are coming after recovery now, like I've never seen it happen before.
That's a good thing. So I want to ask this question to the group, and then we can talk about it. Just kibitz a little bit before we wrap up. Do you think, in general, we have enough services out there to meet the burgeoning needs of our community? And everybody can answer. Don't make me pick y'all one at a time.
No, I was going to definitely say, I don't think we can have too many services, because people are deciding to get clean every day. We know we have a pandemic with addiction. So people are deciding every day to get clean. I don't think we can have enough services. I think we have a lot of good services already. I know that there are lots of good services out there. And I love the peer run centers where people are able to pop into. They're not able to do it so much right now. Like, I really love Sarah. I love when they can just go in and sit down and get what they get from those places. So there's a lot of good services out here, but I don't think that we can have too many of those.
I would agree, Gail. Who's next?
I'll just jump in. I'll say I definitely agree with Gail. Unfortunately, I don't think we can have enough, because as we see the numbers continue to rise, people continue to die. And so because of that, I don't think we can, I don't think we can have enough services. There are people who, fortunately, we have an outpatient medicated assisted treatment clinic, and there are more people dying from opioid disorder, opioid overdose, even though we have some of those services available. So I think we still have more work to do.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think it's one step further. We need to make sure our services are accessible, right? That's
Hmm.
where we should be going to make sure those services that are available are also accessible. I
Mm.
think that's where you'll start to see a change in the trends. You know, same day recovery programs, things along those lines.
I think I think everybody made valid points. I think there are a couple of things. I think we have to focus the next batch of the of our work on partnering. I think sometimes, um, you know, the word partnering has been watered down to mean nothing. And I think at the end of the day, all of us in the community, no matter what rubric, hat, or shade you wear or have or present, you are playing some role to try to assist and move a person forward. So I do believe partnerships is a key component towards making a whole healthy community. I do want to put this on the table in the last couple of minutes. We talked a little bit about the opioids death, and as a black man that grew up in Richmond in the '80s, and was the murder capital of the country. Our murder rate was alarmingly high, similar to where it was for the last couple of months in Richmond. But one of the things that I wanted to present or ask you guys as experts in this area is, do you notice, if you and Victor, you might be able to get a pass. I don't know how old you are, but you might be able to get a pass on this one. But some of us that have a little bit longer time in the game can speak to it. Um, I remember distinctly when crack decimated our community. And I remember distinctly uh, the response to it, not necessarily being similar to the way we responding to opioid. Was that just my jaundiced perspective, or was that a little bit of um, systematic racism? Or you guys can add to that if you think.
Well, I'll guess I'll jump in. My generation came right after the crack epidemic. I grew up in New York City, in the late '90s. I grew up in New York City Housing Authority, aka the projects.
Mm-hmm.
So what I saw coming down out of our apartment, down our staircase, was the remnants of the crack epidemic, the
Yes,
pipe
sir.
on the floor throughout the community. Some folks who just didn't make it. You know, they were there,
Right.
but they didn't make it. The response to the opioid epidemic compared to the crack epidemic, totally different. With the crack epidemic, the response was, the war on drugs. It was a punitive response. It was a criminalization response.
That's right.
What we're seeing now is more caretaken
Absolutely.
response. So there
Absolutely.
is drastically different. But all the same, it is substance use disorder, and we kind of have to right the ship, as they say, with how we respond to it.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you wholeheartedly. But I think I was watching something on Instagram where um, the person was saying we have to begin to heal by starting with the truth, because we can't actually heal the source. No, it was coming to the table, which is a conversation that talks about race relations in America, and there are pilot sites all around the country, and I was a part of one, and they said you have to begin with healing with beginning with the truth. So if you can't begin with the truth and admit where you made a mistake, then we can't heal because we're building on a lie.
Yeah.
So I want to let everybody know I'm being told or prompted that we should begin to be wrapping up. And I want to wrap up on a positive note that I want to thank everybody for their participation. And I think we shared a tremendous amount of information. I think that we all got better. I think that even if in some of our discouraging conversations or discouraging points, we were able to show a little bit of light on what we need to talk about in Richmond to make Richmond a better, a healthier place. I think that if we don't talk about things that are uncomfortable within our community, we do a service to our community and ourselves. So yes, I want to thank all of you guys for participating tonight. I want to thank all of the people that are logged in, and I want to thank the Friends of Prevention. Let me read this to one more time so I can not get in trouble with the people who've asked me to support them tonight. The Friends of Prevention Coalition and Richmond Behavioral Health Authority, we want to thank them for sponsoring this very important discussion. FOPC is a catalyst for promoting wellness in Richmond to create and sustain healthy and drug-free communities. FOPC's community conversations have been and always will continue to be about creating a safer place for Richmond's residents and clients to live and exist. And I would give everybody 20 seconds to tell people good night, and then we'll get ready to close out. And Gail, I'll start with you.
Good night, everyone, and thank you so much, Ms. Pearson, for this opportunity.
Well, I just want to say, first of all, I want to say, Dennis, I think it was very unfair of you to throw that last question out when we only had 2 minutes to go.
It was food for thought. It was food for thought.
Oh,
you could have done a whole hour on that one.
Yeah, I was wrapping my hands over here, ready to deal with that one.
Well, maybe they'll invite us back. Maybe they'll invite us back. Let's talk to BJ and Charlene. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's been an awesome conversation, and I just want to say, truly, mental health and substance use disorder treatment works. I'll just lastly say, I was listening to someone recently say during this pandemic, one of the things that happened to them is that they came down to the streets of Richmond downtown and saw no one in sight, and their anxiety level increased to the point where they had an anxiety attack. And I thought about, what about the people I'm working with? I'm wondering how they're feeling. So it's just something to think about as we're going forward. This has been a great opportunity. Thank you. Thank you,
Deidre. Go ahead, Victor.
Yeah, you did tee it up towards the end. I try not to take up too much time. But I just want to thank the panel. I want to thank everyone at Friends for Prevention for having me here. And I just want to say to everyone who's watching, you're not alone. We're all going through this together. Some are a little bit deeper than others, but there's resources out there. Connect with us, connect with your community, connect with your partners. Partnership is key.
Yes.
Good. Gail, did I ask you, Gail? Okay, so I want to thank everybody again. I know I threw a teaser out. I'm glad, because I want you to think about it, and maybe we can get together and talk. Maybe we can create maybe we can have conversations with Dennis at a coffee shop near you. But listen, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank BJ. I want to thank Gail. I want to thank everybody for giving me this opportunity. I enjoy talking to you guys. I enjoy being present with you in this hour. And I want to thank everybody. If you need more information, please visit the FOPC site, and the website address for that is, I don't see it on my paper here. Does anybody have it? Deidre, do you have it? Oh, FOPCRVA.com. www.fopcrva.com. www.fopcrva.com. All right. I want to thank everybody tonight, and you guys have been exceptional. Thank you for your time. God bless and good night.